That brings us to the number 2 player on our trade targets board. As I mentioned, the top 50 up on dailyfaceoff.com, and that's Hampus Lindholm from the Anaheim Ducks. So here's where things stand with Lindholm at the moment. The Ducks circled back to the Lindholm camp in the last 24 hours. I think there was a last push, a last check-in to say, hey, is there any chance that we could get this done? I don't believe the Anaheim Ducks were willing to go beyond a 5-year deal for Hampus Lindholm. I think his AAV was, maybe starting with a 7, high 6s in that range. That's for sure. And it's just not a term that the Lindholm camp is comfortable with. They're thinking that they can get a 7, or depending on where he's traded, an 8-year deal. And that's a spot where you look at the difference between total dollars. It's a big difference that Hampus Lindholm would potentially be leaving on the table for years 6, 7, and 8 potentially. So this is the premier defenseman that's available on the market. An elite skater, a minute chewer, a guy that would be a big addition to any playoff team. And now the Ducks are in trade mode. The ask is a first-round pick plus a grade A prospect plus another piece to make the finances work, with the Ducks willing to retain half. So, Chris, my question to you is, when you're gaming this out and you're looking at it from the Lindholm camp's perspective, is this a no-brainer in that you think you're pretty comfortable in being able to get at least a 7-year deal that would put another $12 to $15 million in your player's pocket?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I can see from Anaheim's standpoint why they wouldn't want to go too long on the term and too big on the money. They've got some young stars that they're going to have to pay, Troy Terry, Zegras. So, and Hampus doesn't put up big points, right? He logs big minutes and he's a solid defender, but he's not a points guy. So, I can see why they'd be a little bit tentative and why maybe they haven't been able to reach a deal there. Yeah, if you're Lindholm and you think that there's a team out there that's willing to do the 7 or 8 year term at that kind of money, it's a no brainer for him. So, are there teams willing to do that? I'm sure there are. Right? There's just so few of those type of defensemen in the league that some team that maybe doesn't have the young progression that the Ducks have will be willing to shell out that kind of dough. So, it's a tricky situation for Anaheim, but if he does move, then that's probably the reason why.
It only takes one, as you said, in order to step up and pay. And I think the other part of that is probably a bit of what the Ducks have been asking themselves of late, which is, if we are trading this guy, how do we make our team better next year? How do you find a Hampus Lindholm on the market? It's really hard to do. You generally have to develop from within. And that leaves the Ducks in this awkward spot where they've taken such a big step forward this year, where they'd have to take a step back potentially next year, already trading Manson. Raquel could be on the way out, as we've already talked about. That's a lot to lose from one team, and certainly leaves the Ducks players, at least, probably with some question marks, saying, where are we heading? How can we be competitive quickly? Certainly something to monitor. We'll see Hampus Lindholm going to heat up in the next 72 hours. That is for certain.